Dear Vampires, I know we've had our differences in the past, mainly in the years of 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, and then 2012. But I have something to tell you, something you might be relieved to hear. I just want to tell you all, you have been redeemed. Last Friday was the UK cinema release of Dracula Untold, and I went to see it, and I've got to say I am so glad I did, because it was so good and so worth it. If you haven't seen it yet, please do go see it, because it was so good, so refreshing. Finally, a vampire film where vampires are dark and frightening, and they're in no way sexually attractive, unless you've got the hots for Luke Evans, you might do. So the story is basically, Bard from the Hobbit Desolation of Smaug needs to stop Howard Stark from the Marvel Cinematic Universe from taking Rickon Stark from Game of Thrones, and so Bard goes to see Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones, accompanied by a soundtrack by Ramin Djawadi, who did the soundtrack for Game of Thrones, and Tywin Lannister gives him vampire powers for 3 days, which is pretty damn cool. In all seriousness, the performances were absolutely incredible. Luke Evans manages to make the audience root for a blood-sucking monster that likes to impale people, and that takes quite a talent to do. Charles Dance is a fantastic actor. He steals every scene that he's in. He's just got this majesticness about him. Dominic Cooper, he was good as the villain. It's not a role I've seen him in much, which it was nice to see him do something different. All these actors together, they made it so emotional and suspenseful and gripping, and it was just amazing to see all that, and the visuals, just the cherry on the cake, really. Moving on, 2 rather long anticipated television series of mine are on the brink of showing up. The first one is Season 5 of The Walking Dead, and the second one is the first series of Gotham. I've seen the trailers for both, and I'm looking forward to both. I am already a fan of The Walking Dead. I've seen all the other seasons, and I want to see where it goes. I want to see what happens next, how they resolve the cliffhanger at the end of Series 4, and I also want to see more action in it, because after halfway through Season 4, everyone gets separated, and there's just no really big action sequences, and I kind of miss those. As for Gotham, I like Batman. Jim Gordon is going to be the protagonist of the series, and I felt like I grew close to that character watching the Dark Knight trilogy. So that's a smart move by whoever is making the show. The Penguin is going to be the villain, or at least one of them, probably the main one, which is great because the Penguin is a fantastic villain. Batman just has like the best villains, all on par with Spider-Man, but the Penguin is an awesome villain, and it'd be great to see him getting more action, because we haven't really seen a lot of the Penguin since 1992. On the subject of anticipation, I have a list of upcoming movie releases that stretches out all the way up to 2017. This is primarily due to the age of sequels, which means all the big studios are planning their movie releases way into the future, all their franchises and sequels and prequels and reboots and remakes, and subsequently I am putting all these dates in my calendar under the heading Cinema Trip. Speaking of the age of sequels, Night of the Museum has become a part of that. If you thought the ending to the second one was a nice little way to wrap everything up, it's a heartwarming, cheerful, funny ending to the whole thing, you're wrong. Has to have a sequel. It's the age of sequels now, everything has to have a sequel. And so, Night at the Museum 3, Secret of the Tomb is coming our way. In truth, it does look like it's going to be a very fun, very enjoyable film. Also in the age of sequels is The Hobbit, The Battle of the 5 Armies. 1 chapter in the book, now an entire movie. I have read the book, so I know pretty much what's going to happen, or so Peter Jackson would have me believe. It will be a somewhat darker and more emotional installment than the other 2 Hobbit films. It'll be a very epic, big film, a final huzzah before the closing curtain, and it'll tie in to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, making the whole thing into a big Middle-earth saga. If there's just one thing I want from this film, it is for them not to cut Beorn out of the battle, because in the books, he is there, he's a bear, and he is awesome. And finally, on the same day as The Hobbit, Ridley Scott's Exodus Gods and Kings will be coming out. I have always loved the story of Moses, despite my religious beliefs, and I think to see this on the big screen as a live action epic will be awesome, because it's such a great story and there's so many aspects. There's the moral aspect, there's the visual aspect, there's just everything. There's a great cast being lined up. Ben Kingsley, Christian Bale. I mentioned the Dark Knight trilogy, I first got to know him in that, and then I've looked at some of his other work, Reign of Fire, American Hustle, and I really like him. He's a good actor, he knows how to be the main actor, and he's the main actor, he's going to be Moses, so that'll be good to see. Unfortunately, the one big problem this film has already put itself in is it's going to come out on the same day as The Hobbit, so I'm betting it's going to lose out in the box office on opening day. Those are my thoughts on the big and small screens this week. Thank you for watching, and if I ever feel like doing this again,